First, Afghanistan, where the Taliban is gaining control of swaths of territory at a staggering pace. The militant group has captured more than half of the country's 400-plus districts and in recent days seized 6 provincial capitals. Dozens of Afghan workers who helped Canada's military mission during the war have been brought here in recent days. How many more, though, are desperately waiting? Marco Mendicino is Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship. He's in Washington. Minister, thank you so much for joining us today. I'd like to start by asking you about Afghanistan. We've heard from Afghan contractors and their families, the ones who qualify for the Canadian resettlement program, that they're facing a couple of new obstacles that popped up over the weekend. They say, one, it's difficult to get a PCR test to show that they don't have COVID before they can get on one of these flights to come to Canada. And they have to have a valid Afghan passport before they can board a plane. Both are incredibly difficult to obtain in this moment in Afghanistan. What do you say to the people who qualify for the program but can't meet those targets?
We're going to do everything we can to support you so that we can evacuate as many Afghan nationals as quickly as possible, as safely as possible, under this special immigration program, which I announced a short while ago. I am aware of the 2 issues. I'm confident that we are troubleshooting those issues with the Afghan government, and we'll continue to support those Afghan nationals because, as I've said, Canada has a moral imperative to help those Afghans who helped us during the mission. So the good news is that this operation is in full swing. We've had a number of flights that have now allowed Afghans to resettle under this program. I was present for the first flight to arrive. It was obviously a very emotional moment, but we know that we still have a lot of work ahead of us, but there are more flights coming, there are more Afghans coming, and I'll just again give a real shout out to the members of the armed forces as well as all of our officials as part of Team Canada, and we're going to keep at this.
Of those 2 obstacles, you say you're troubleshooting them. Are those requirements from the Canadian government or are those obstacles put there by the Afghan government?
Well, there are obstacles which have been unfortunately put in the way as a result of the Afghan government, but I do want to assure your viewers that we are in constant communication with our Afghan counterparts. I had a very constructive conversation with leaders of the Afghan Canadian diaspora here over the weekend with my colleague Ministers Monsef and Sejan, as well as representatives from the Afghan government themselves. I am optimistic that we are reducing those obstacles even as we speak, because we are all united in the common cause to see this operation through and carried through safely. And so that's our commitment, and the proof of the early results of this operation are the flights which are coming, which are allowing those Afghans who are eligible under this program to be resettled. And we're also going to work with civil society. We're going to work with advocacy groups, the veterans groups. We're going to work with the communities here to help integrate and welcome those Afghan nationals. We know the situation is deteriorating and it's getting worse by the hour. We are very seized with the urgency of the situation, which is why we are focused like a laser to see it through.
Only Afghan contractors and their families currently in Afghanistan right now are eligible for this resettlement program. But we are hearing from Afghan contractors who have actually fled Afghanistan to go to a third country to seek safety. And now they're risking their lives coming back into Afghanistan in the hopes that they can actually make it into Canada. We spoke with an interpreter who told CBC News last week, listen to this. This is what he said to us.
As the Prime Minister said, this process will be collected really fast. Will end very fast. That's why they forced me, indirectly. If you want to go to Canada, you have to be in Afghanistan.
So this interpreter specifically had fled to Turkey. He heard about the program, the Canadian program, that you had to be in Afghanistan. So he crossed the border back into Afghanistan, where the situation is deteriorating quickly. What do you say to this person who's risked his life to try and get on one of these flights rather than being able to bring him here from Turkey?
Well, it's heart-wrenching to hear the fear in his voice, and my message to him is that we're going to do everything that we can to resettle all Afghans that are eligible under this program. I will say that we do have a number of initiatives that do facilitate the resettlement of those that have been active in the human rights space through our recently announced Human Rights Defender Stream, as well as some other targeted initiatives that do allow for resettlement opportunities for those targeted minorities, religious minorities in particular, Afghan Afghan Sikhs and Hindus who've already been displaced as a result of the deteriorating situation in Afghanistan. But my message, Katie, to your viewers and to all Canadians is that we're doing everything that we can to see this operation carried out smoothly, securely, and safely as quickly as possible. We are very seized with the gravity of the situation, and we will continue to examine other options because we know that, as has always been the case, when there are humanitarian crises like this, Canada steps up to do the right thing.
But why not expand the program? This is not a unique case. We've heard about this in other situations. I interviewed someone last week whose family had fled to Madagascar. They're in danger in Madagascar, but they think the only opportunity they're going to be able to get to Canada is if they go back into Afghanistan and then come to Canada that way. Why not open up this program, make it more broad so those people who have fled to safer places, if they are even safe right now, why not open that up, broaden it up so that they don't actually have to venture back into Afghanistan where the situation is deteriorating completely?
And I understand that appeal, Katie. I understand why you're asking it. I know that there are advocates who are saying just do more. This program is 4 times larger than the prior special immigration program, which was launched 10 years ago under a previous government. And I'll just point out and highlight that the situation that we are in right now is dramatically different than it was 10 years ago. It's more complex. It's more dangerous. The risks to the lives are very real. And so as a result of that, and the fact that we have an increasingly short runway in which to evacuate Afghan nationals here, we're doing everything in our power to get out as many eligible Afghans out of this program as we can, while continuing to explore other options outside of Afghanistan, because we know that there are those that have already been displaced. We want to take an open and compassionate approach to this, and we're going to work with Canadians broadly to do the work that Canada has become world-renowned for. And the United Nations has consistently pointed out that Canada's record on this has been second to none.
I just want to jump in because you said you're exploring this option. So does that mean you're looking at other options to possibly bring people in from third countries? Is that something your government is actively considering and looking at?
Well, Katie, as I said earlier in one of your prior questions, we do have a number of pathways which I recently launched. One is the Human Rights Defender Stream, which does allow for those human rights activists who were in Afghanistan, who may have been displaced and who are in third countries to be eligible for. And we also have some other pathways for targeted religious minorities, including Afghan Sikhs, where we've already been able to resettle, and we're hopeful we're going to be able to do more. But our orientation around this is to do the right thing by those Afghans who stood by us and our mission for years, and that is the work that we will continue to do.
The U.S. Capitol is sitting behind you in the background right there. I know you've had some meetings today with your American counterparts. Is there any update on the situation with the Canada-U.S. border when it comes to letting fully vaccinated Canadians into the United States for non-essential purposes?
Well, first, thanks for taking note, and it's good to be on my first international trip in over 17 months, and we're concluding a very successful trip to Washington, D.C. I had a very warm and productive bilateral meeting with my counterpart, Secretary Mayorkas. We talked about a range of issues, including the border, but we also talked about providing a shared responsibility when it comes to managing migration in the Americas, to protect the North American perimeter, to ensure that we've got secure borders as we begin to ease travel restrictions. Certainly, that work continues. I will say, on a number of fronts, addressing the root causes of migration in the Americas was a central focus of our discussions. We also talked about exporting some of Canada's successes when it comes to community sponsorship. These are the communities right across Canada who do the work of resettling refugees and other vulnerable peoples, and we are prepared to do that work in collaboration. With the United States, I also had a chance to meet with leaders from the Migration Policy Institute, including Secretary Albright and Lloyd Axworthy, two great leaders in this space, as well as meeting with economists from the World Bank who confirmed what we already know, which is that immigration creates jobs, growth, and prosperity. And we believe that that is the work that we've been doing as part of this government now for a number of years, and we'll keep at that as well.
I just want to ask one quick follow-up question there. I know that from covering lawmakers in the United States, oftentimes they've, including the prior Trump administration, has pointed to Canada's immigration system as something that they might possibly want to model. Is that what it looks like? The Biden administration is trying to talk to you about how the Canadian system works and whether they can sort of adopt some of the policies that we have here down there. Is that what I should be taking away from your comments there?
Look, I have a lot of respect for Secretary Mayorkas. I certainly believe that we had a great conversation around Canada's approach to immigration domestically, and we talked about how we believe that the stories and the successes that we enjoy are ones that are really validated by the fact that 1 in 3 business owners in Canada is an immigrant, and that in turn they employ hundreds of thousands of Canadians. And certainly the policy choices that we have made in Canada have served us well and will continue to serve us well. I also say on a personal note that it was good to be able to connect with Secretary Mayorkas, face to face. We share very similar backgrounds, both professionally as former federal prosecutors, as well as the son of immigrant families. So it was a very warm and productive meeting. We had a great conversation on a range of priorities, including about the border, including how we manage migration from the standpoint of the hemisphere. And I know that there will be good cooperation going forward.
We have less than 30 seconds here. Can you tell me, is there a timeline as to when the U.S. border will reopen to Canadians who are fully vaccinated?
Well, you know that Canada has made the decision to welcome fully vaccinated Americans, and that was on the basis of the best public health advice.
What about a reciprocal announcement?
Well, I was just about to say, Katie, we've been cooperating for a long time with the Americans. We'll continue to keep lines of communication, but ultimately we have to respect the decisions that they will take on the basis of the advice that they're getting, and certainly that is something that we will continue to look forward to.
So no update right now, no timeline.
I've given you the update.
Okay. I think that means there's no update. Minister, thank you very much for your time today.
Always good to be with you, Katie.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.